Okay, these nests, it's springtime, and the babies are just starting, and we have really nasty weather this time of year. So we're going to get a big wind. Right now, the moms are sitting on the nest. They're all singing away and having a good time feeding their babies. Wind comes, whoosh, moms fly away.
Mom flies away.
Nests drop on the ground.
Oh.
And I'm coming by, I'm Susie Citizen. Oh, look, here's a nest for me. I can take this home. These are so adorable. I'm going to keep them. Okay, can I keep them?
Oh,
no.
How are you going to feed them?
And so Susie decides that she should not take them home. And the nest, she goes and puts one in the tree, and the other nest is destroyed. And so she takes a little container, puts holes in the bottom, and then she can either put part of the old nest or put tissue paper inside, put the babies back in, and we'll put some string here, through here, and we're going to put it we're going to attach it to the tree, and we're going to wait a few seconds, and babies are calling, chirp, 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 and there go the moms,
And
back to
Mom
those
again.
babies.
Oh.
So very easy. And
Yes.
most people have these types of containers somewhere in their house.
Right.
Everybody has paper towel or tissue and a string, so.
And I always say Cool Whip containers, but any kind of
Right.
container that you can put back in the tree. It's not always a good idea to try to recover the nest because there's so many parasites in it. So
Right. And so sometimes if you find the baby birds but you don't find the nest, it's okay to use just the paper toweling or the tissue in the
Right.
plastic container, whether it be Cool Whip or a butter container or something like that.
Right, and again, remember, the oils on our hands are going to disturb their feathers, and we don't want to lead predators to them. So once you put the babies back in the nest, leave them be, go away.
Go away. Okay.
And the moms usually are back within a half hour. The babies have to be making calls, same with those little owlets. They have to be making their food begging calls for the moms to come back, so don't feed them and just put them back.
Right, because if they're not hungry, they're not going to call, and
Right.
we need them to call.
Right, and the moms need that
So-
stimulus.
The owlets, you said that you were getting calls already now. What's the next thing that you get the most calls about?
Baby bunnies.
Okay, we get a lot of those calls too,
Yes.
Randy. So, Rhonda, how many calls do you think that we get during the summer?
When it starts to warm up, we probably take at least 3 to 5 calls a day on people, wanting to mow their
yes.
lawn, or my dog has found a rabbit's nest. So first and foremost, how can people determine whether or not they need to help?
Okay, well, first of all, we talk about the size of the bunny, and out of these, we have these two,
Oh, okay.
and then we have these 3 sizes. So what would you think would be the size that would be releasable out of these bunnies?
I think because I've been taking these calls a while, I probably am more closer, but I would say kind of like this size.
Right, these
Yeah.
2, and if you put your fist up like this,
Okay.
they're equal to a woman's fist, and you make it like you're going to punch someone, not like in your hand.
Right.
And so I want to assess how old they are. And within 28 to 35 days, they're usually on their own. And so when they're that size, the ears are up. They can be left alone. They're just scared. Sometimes they totally freeze in place. Leave them be. Don't chase them.
And is it, sorry to interrupt, is it true that even when they're smaller, the mom is not there 24 hours a day,
Correct.
which some people may confuse as she's abandoned
Or
them?
killed.
Okay.
Yes, the mom only comes at dusk and dawn to feed, and she's actually in the area watching the nest, but you'll never find her. She's hiding and feeding herself, and she will not come and feed if somebody is there. And so if you're going to look at a nest of bunnies and you have these guys, and we'll pretend these guys are smaller, say you have flies buzzing around, lots of flies, then I would say there's something wrong. And then if you look at the babies, it's okay, take a towel or a glove and handle them. Look for fly eggs. If there's fly eggs or blood, they always need help, always. And so then you'd have to remove them from the nest. Sometimes
So flies are a good indication that something
right.
is
Flies or blood, and right, because they all have parasites,
right.
fleas and
They have a
deer
lot of
tick.
fleas. My
Right.
dog has caught a rabbit, and I've watched the fleas
off.
jump off onto my dog, and I'm totally grossed
Right,
out.
right. But if they're healthy, they groom.
Now, if I'm mowing my lawn and I run over a nest, and I don't hurt anybody, but the bunnies all scatter all around, should I put the bunnies back in the nest, or should I let them, if they came out of the nest, they should be able to go back in the nest by themselves,
Yes,
correct?
and if you approach them and they run or they totally freeze, leave them be, because
Okay.
the stress you're going to cause them is going to be 10 times worse than
Right.
anything else
How,
that could
is
happen.
there, I had heard, and I need to know if this is true, if the nest has truly been abandoned, you put a string, kind of like what we had here on the table, across the nest, and then if it's disturbed, that means that mama's come. Does that
Okay,
work?
Well, for me, I don't like to tell people to do that because it tends to lead them to go check the nest way too often.
Okay.
And again, we have a scent, and if we walk to that nest 3 times a day or more, or whatever, we're making a predator path.
Right, because
right to
when
that
baby
nest.
bunnies are born, they don't have any scent, do they?
Right, right.
And is it safe to assume, and maybe this is kind of harsh, but not every bunny is going to make it every
Right.
year. And if they
Right.
did, there'd probably be a lot more and a bigger
And they
problem.
wouldn't be healthy.
Right.
And
so,
what happens when they overpopulate is they get a disease, we lose all the rabbits, and then it starts all
Right.
over.
So Mother Nature will take care of it one way or
She
the
knows
other. So
a
it's
lot more than we do.
so it's better that we don't interfere.
Right.
And so I
Right.
know that.
And I know people like to be reassured that they're okay, but I feel like we need to teach people to be responsible and respectful, and a way to do that is to have them understand these are wild animals, you are a human, the feelings you're feeling are okay, but just don't project them onto the rabbits because they're not going to survive in our world. So it's an education
Right.
process.
I probably wouldn't survive in theirs.
Me
fending
either.
fending for myself. So again, with baby bunnies, what should people do again? Just to review real quick.
If they find a nest, they should leave it be unless they're seeing that there's flies or blood present, or if there's dead babies in there. Then there's obviously a problem. But otherwise, they should just leave it be. A lot of times people will find them in their garden, and the call will start out, I'm sure you've had these, I have this nest of bunnies and they've been abandoned in my garden. What should I do? And I tell them what to do and to leave them there, and the outcome is that they really don't want the bunnies in the garden, whether they're abandoned or not.
Right.
So it's really is more an education process, again, saying that they'll be gone quickly,
Right.
they develop quickly, and that
And the same is
they'll
true.
leave.
The same is true if you have dogs. I think we encourage people that if you have a rabbit nest in your yard, to keep your dog on leash for a couple
Right,
days.
or let them out in a different area
area
or
of the
something
house.
like that.
not that I want to keep going on the rabbits here, but one last thing. There are a lot of people who are just unwilling to play host to baby
Yes.
bunnies or rabbits at all. Can you give any tips or guidelines as to what they can do to maybe discourage or deter rabbits from nesting in their yard or entering their garden? Or is there anything that can be
I
done?
mean, you can do, the Humane Society of the United States has a wonderful book on helpful hints on how to handle wildlife in urban settings. And you can do, different things work at different times. The key is don't do the same thing all of the time. You can do human hair, you can do chili pepper, you can do marigold sometimes. I tell people to plant a bigger garden. Plant one where you have some kind of fencing and one without. I have huge gardens, and I have hundreds of rabbits, and they never ever go into my vegetable garden.
They probably don't want to come near your scent either. It's like we want to stay safe, so we're going to stay away. Baby
But
bunnies.
we need to coexist. and
right.
so-